Welcome to the presentation of a lecture from Gnostic Radio, a free public service from the Gnostic tradition of Samael Aun Weor. Gnosis is the root wisdom of all the world's great religions. Gnosis is a universal teaching of practical science, whose goal is absolute liberation from suffering and the complete development of the human being. This lecture is one of hundreds available as free downloads, podcasts, or transcriptions. Our lectures range in topic and complexity in order to address the many needs of humanity. We invite you to browse our library of lectures to find teachings that suit you. Each Saturday, Gnostic Radio broadcasts live and includes a free online classroom allowing listeners to see images, read related scriptures, and ask questions of the speaker. To learn how to participate, visit gnosticradio.org. Gnostic Radio is a service of Glorian Publishing, a non-profit organization. The lectures and radio broadcast have been made possible by the financial support of listeners like you. Most spiritual schools recommend a donation of $10 to $20 per lecture. To make a donation, visit gnosticradio.org. Now, with heartfelt wishes for the end of suffering for all creatures, we begin the lecture. May all beings be happy.
Moses, the mystery of Adam. The title of this lecture will uncover what is that archetype which all of us in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam know as Moses. And it is important for all of us to comprehend that indeed Moses is an archetype with which we can build Adam, which is always translated as man in the Bible. We will explain through this lecture who Moses is inside of each one of us, in order not to fall into confusion, because when you walk on the path of the self-realization of yourself, of your being, we have to comprehend that the being has many parts. Usually, as you can see in the second graphic, that the tree of life is one of the symbols that we always address, in which we find in synthesis the 10 main parts of our particular individual being, and how through the Hebrew letters we uncover many mysteries that are covered for those that do not investigate or do not go deep into the doctrine. However, we have to emphasize that the Master Moses existed, because sometimes people misunderstand us. When we state that Moses is an archetype, we also state that he is a master of major mysteries. In order to clarify this, let me tell you an experience that I had many years ago when still the Master was alive. Master Samael on the Or. Being in the internal planes, I saw myself seated on a rock, thinking, analyzing. That rock was at the shore of a river or lake. Then a couple of masters, or we will say rabbis, which is the same meaning. The word rabbi means masters, came from behind me and put on my back a fabric, which is very common among the Hebrew race. A fabric that denotes always Judaism. And then they told me, "Are you Moses?" And then I look at them, I said, "No, I am not Moses." And they asked me, "So, from which tribe are you, or do you belong?" Then I answer, "I belong to the tribe of Judah." And then they said, "Then you are Moses." And they put me the fabric on my shoulders. I stood and walked away with them. And that was the end of the experience. Of course, when I came into my physical body, I thought, me, Moses? Oh, I mean, I never experienced this, but just because they were saying that, I started to analyze. And then I talked with the Master Samael on the Or. And I said, "Master, I had this experience. When they told me that I was Moses, when I explained to him everything, he says, Moses is a Superman. You are not Moses." And then I said, "But explain to me." And then he addressed, "Well, everything is already explained in the Pistis Sophia. Moses is an archetype, and it is related with the work that each one of us has to do. I work with it, or with him," he says. "With Moses Zabaoth. And every single initiate has his own particular Moses inside with whom he has to work in order to create the man inside, in order to do all those marvels that we find written in the book of Exodus." So then, of course, I started to inquire and to investigate about this in order not to fall into confusion, because in the Pistis Sophia, Master Samael on the Or explains very well that his inner being, Samael, is also an archetype that we have, that everybody has. So masters that reach self-realization become archetypes. And this is how, and the only way that we can understand why it is written in the Zohar that the Master Moses will appear also in the times of the end, and he will be the one that will guide the people. If we do not understand the meaning Kabbalistically about these statements, we will read literally and we think that somebody else, I mean the Master Moses, will reincarnate again in order to guide the people of Israel. which is also another archetype. So it is necessary for all of us to comprehend all of these archetypes in order to know what we receive, or what type of experience, knowledge are we receiving. Otherwise, we might fall into confusion, not understanding that the being is an army of children. And each child or archetype has his own mission. And now we are going to explain about this archetype named Moses, which we had to develop if we want to go into the Exodus. And as he says in the Zohar, it mentioned that Moses is equal to Adam. So, for all the Gnostics, which are everywhere in this day and age, millions all over the world, that some of them have come with a message that they are Moses, and they appear there, that they say that they are the Bodhisattva of Moses. Others that appear there are the Bodhisattva of Enoch, which is another archetype. And it is because of the lack of study that the Master Samael always emphasized that we have to study the doctrine very well in order not to fall into confusion and to understand all of this, especially we Christians, Jews, Muslims, which develop in relation with this doctrine of the tree of life, Kabbalah. Of course, in other religions, sects that exist in the world, these archetypes receive other name. But the religion that is spread all over the world, which is Christianity, is based in Judaism, and Judaism is based on Kabbalah. And obviously, this is what is being spread due to the fact that Samael Onveor, the Bodhisattva of Samael, who becomes an archetype in each one of us, has developed the Pistis Sophia and explained there many mysteries that we have to understand. If we look at the tree of life, we find that it is always divided in three triangles. The triangle of God, which is called the logoic triangle, in which we place the letter Aleph, which is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Then the second triangle, where we place the letter Shin, which is the second mother letter. Because in Kabbalah we study the three mother letters, which are Aleph, Shin, and Mem. Mem being the third, located in the third triangle of the tree of life. This is how we had to place them in order to understand the mysteries of the Bible, the Zohar, and of course, the holy name of God. Yod, He, Vav, He, which is called in Greek the Holy Tetragrammaton. So these 7 letters, we can study and unveil many mysteries that are hidden for the eye of those who are not initiates. It is advisable to meditate, to transmute the sexual force in order to understand the mystery of Moses. Because Moses appears between the two waters. All the mysteries of the water relate to Moses. See the three letters, the three mother letters in the tree of life. The first is Aleph, which is a symbol of air, that we always associated with the letter He of the holy name, Yod He, Vav He. When we address the letter He, we always explain that it is spelled He Aleph. This is how you spell it, the letter He. So in Kabbalah, we state that the letter Aleph is the daughter of He. Due to the fact that when you talk about the He, the letter Aleph is hidden in its spelling. So when you read in the Bible or in any Kabbalistic book the daughter of He, you have to understand that that daughter is Aleph, hidden. So, in previous lecture, we explained that He is the sigh, the breath, the letter H in the Latin alphabet that relates to the rune Hagal that is explained already very wide in one of our lectures. So the letter He is that breath which hides the letter Aleph, which is the wind, which is the air. Ha, as we explained in Hagal, rune. Madame Blavatsky, when talking about the ray of Okidanok, which is that ray that emerges from the Ein Sof Or, the limitless light, that third aspect of the Absolute. He explains that the ray of Okidanok, that we call Glorian, is the eternal breath, profoundly unknowable to itself. So that eternal breath, profoundly unknowable to itself, is symbolized with the letter He. Because from that sigh, Ha, emerges Aleph, which is hidden within that He. In that letter Aleph is the representation of the first triangle, because it's made by Keter, Chochmah, Binah, the Holy Triamatzikamno, or the Holy Trinity, which has three atoms in our head, because we have to address also our physicality in order to understand and to see how these forces, which are cosmic, are also in our body. In our head, Keter relates to the root of our nose, a magnetic center. And Chochmah, which is wisdom, the second Sephirah, relates to the pituitary gland. And Binah, which is understanding or comprehension, relates to the pineal gland. That is the triangle that we see in our head. which relates to the crown chakra, the Sahasrara chakra, which always is on top of our head. So behold there, in synthesis, the symbol of that letter Aleph, which the Master Samael Om Veor calls the three Akashic breaths that descend from heaven into our physicality. Now, if you observe the letter Aleph in that graphic, we always state that it is formed by three letter yods of the holy name Yod He Vav He. So one yod is in the right up, and the other yod is in the lower left down. And in the middle is a letter yod that becomes a letter vav. Because when you talk about the letter yod of the holy name Yod He Vav He, you have to understand this. It's just a dot, spot. That's yod. But when you prolong that down with a straight line, that dot becomes the letter vav. That's why it is written that the son of the Father is vav. In other words, the son of Yod is vav. So, behold the name of God, Yod, He, Vav. The third letter is Vav. So that Vav is the son of Yod, because they are together. As when, in a simple example in our physicality, we will say, our Yod, which is our sexual organ, when fecundates the ovum, becomes the Vav, the sperm that penetrates. So you see the letter Vav has the shape of a sperm. So the Father and the Son are one. It is always stated in Kabbalah. The Son and the Father are one. Me and the Father, or the Father and I are one. The same force. So that's why you see that the letter Aleph has the letter Vav transversally there, as pointing that Vav in the middle, which is the same Yod, is related to the Father, because the other Yods are related to Binah and Chokhmah. That's why that holy breath of God, symbolized by Aleph and the letter He. So from there descends into the second triangle. Visualize the letter Shin, which means fire. The letter Shin, which is fire, relates to the letter Vav. Because when we talk about the sun, Vav, we always said is Tifereth. And if you observe the letter Shin, it has three Vavs in it. So in other words, the Son is the extension of the Trinity. And the letter Shin is another Trinity. But that Trinity relates to what we call our own particular monad, which is also called Chesed, Geburah, Tifereth. That's the second triangle. In Sanskrit, Theosophism, they call it Atman Buddhi Manas, the Trimurti, our own monad, our own spirit, which is Chesed, the divine soul, which is Geburah, and the human soul, which is Tiferet. That's the letter Shin. That's fire. The Zohar talks very extensively about the letter Shin, and the masters of Zohar states that the letter Shin represents the three patriarchs which are talked in the Old Testament, in the Bible. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham is Hesed, Isaac is Geburah, and Tiferet is Jacob. That's the letter Shin. All of us, with any exception, or without any exception, has the three patriarchs within as archetypes. So when we talk about the archetype Hesed, which is Abraham, this is Atman, our own particular spirit. This is what the Bible called the Ruach Elohim, who in the beginning was hovering upon the face of the waters. All of us have that Abraham. If you take that A from Abraham and put it at the end of the word, and then you read Brahma, which in Hinduism is precisely that spirit that floats on top of the waters, the creator. Floats on the top or on the belly of Narayana, the god of the water. Same symbol. So you see, if you go to India, they call it Brahma. If you go to Judaism, they call it Abraham. But the same archetype. Now the second archetype, which is Geburah inside of us, is Isaac, the child of Abraham, which really are called our parents. Because between Abraham and Isaac, or Hesed and Geburah, you find the highest part of our monad, which is always pure inside of us. Now Jacob, which is Tiferet, is the human soul. He's the one, as you see and you study the Bible, that comes into exile with his children, the 12 children of Jacob, which are the 12 tribes of Israel. Because really in Tiferet, Jacob, we find 12 archetypes. These 12 archetypes are spoken, explained in many lectures before. So we have to understand that the angel Israel existed, and he is a great master. When we read the Old Testament, we find all the wisdom in the aura of that angel Israel. But we have to understand that Israel is an archetype inside of us, in which is synthesized the monad, our own particular monad, the 12 parts of our monad, which descend from Tiferet down into Malkut, which is Mizraim, Egypt. The physicality, in other words. It comes in exile. And of course, those archetypes are those elements that we have within that we have to work. The 12 archetypes of Israel, Tiferet, Jacob, which are in our physicality and that we have to develop. If you read the Old Testament in the Bible, you will understand that the only one that can take Israel, or those 12 archetypes, which are many, which are bottled up into our ego, It's a part of our consciousness. The only one that can take out all those archetypes is Moses, as it is written. So you see the importance here? This is how it is written in the book of Exodus. Moses descends from the Sephirah Da'at, where he sees God face to face, in order to come down to Malkut and to take all those archetypes in order to make Adam, the man, into the image of God. So what Moses wrote in the book of Genesis, very contracted, is explained broadly in the next chapters of Genesis and in the book of Exodus. Moses encloses the mystery of Adam, made into the image of God. People think, when they read literally the scriptures, that all of us in this planet Earth and the surface are called Adam, or the children of Adam. But they don't understand that Adam fell, as it is explained in the book of Genesis. Fell when he and she, his wife, ate from the fruit of the tree of good and evil. I mean, fell from Da'at, down. So we will say that we are children of the fallen Adam. But Moses comes down in order to create that Adam into the image of God. And everything is hidden within the Hebrew letters in the Old Testament. And while we walk on the path of self-realization, you might have experiences with Israel. Between parentheses, it's coming to my mind, a certain friend of mine that told me that in internal planes they told him that he was Israel. I said, well, the angel Israel is a great angel. And remember that you have an archetype within. And you are working with your soul, with the different parts of your soul, which are the parts of Israel. The 12 tribes related with Jacob. So don't fall into confusion in order not to make mistakes or false statements. Like in this day and age I read. Therefore there are like 3 people that are calling themselves Moses. But they're not talking about the archetypes. They're talking about the real Moses. Then I remember the Master Samael, who told me in my very face, Moses is a Superman. You are not Moses. In order to shake my consciousness and to remember, I said, okay, this is something else. Because the experience was very clear. So my Moses is one thing, and the Master Moses is another thing. He's a resurrected master that explained in his books, because he wrote these books, the 5 books of the Old Testament called Torah, the law. And he gave his knowledge to the tribes, the Hebrew tribes at that epoch. As Krishna did in India and many other masters did in other places. The people that are not serious fall into confusion and think that they are the chosen ones or the selected ones, with that, and because they are not serious, they don't go inside the meaning of the word. So The letter Mem is water, or the three mother letters. And it's precisely the letter that hides many mysteries, as the water hides many things. Master Samael on Veor states, meditate, dive into your own waters, because the ocean has a lot of deepness, profundity, a lot of life. And all the archetypes are hidden within Mem, the water. And that's why we always state that when we talk about the letter Mem, which is the symbol of water, we have to understand that within it also hides the archetypes. If you see very clear here how the archetype descends from the letter Vav of Aleph into the letter Shin and becomes three flames or three Vavs, which make the letter Shin. And within it are hidden the 12 archetypes of Israel. But from there, you see the letter Vav descends into Yesod. If you observe the letter Mem, it has another Vav there in the left. And a gap, an open gap in the very bottom. And in the right, you find the letter Kaf. In the letter Mem is hidden all those archetypes that we see up there are in the water. So in other words, Mem contains fire and fire contains water. The three mother letters that we have to work with in the self-realization of the self. And of course, Mem relates to the letter He, because remember that the holy name of God, Yod, He, Vav, He, has two He's. The second He is called the daughter of the first in Kabbalah. So when you find a statement that says the daughter of the mother, who is the mother? The mother is the first He. The father is Yod. Yod He is father, mother, that we have to honor. And the son of Yod He, which is called Yah, hallelujah. If you look for the meaning of Yah in Hebrew, that means also God. There are many names of great prophets that are always ending in Yah. Isaiah, Jeremiah. Because that Yah is God. Up there in that. And Vav is the son, and He is the daughter of the first He. So we will say then that the letter Aleph becomes the daughter of He in Kabbalah. Because the letter Aleph is, as I said, is hidden within the He in the spelling. So if the He is the daughter of the first He, then the letter Aleph becomes, how you said, the granddaughter of the letter He. And because the letter Aleph is always hidden, which is the breath of God. That's why when we name the mother below, we take the letter He and we put it to the left of the letter Mem, and then we said Ma. As we were explaining in other lectures, Ma is below in the waters, relates to the earth. Ma means what? in Hebrew. That's why I said what? Ma is below. It's our sexual force. If you add the letter Yod and the letter Aleph to the right of Ma, and then you read Aima. Let's see. Aleph, Yod, Mem, He. Aima, which means mother. Well, in Kabbalah we said Aima Elohim. And because the letter He hides Aleph, and Aleph hides Yod. That's Aima. But Aima also means fear, terror in Hebrew. And when I said terror, fear, dread comes into my mind. Terror, fear, dread is the beginning of wisdom. This is how it is written. So in other words, Ma, Aima, the mother below, is the beginning of wisdom. Chokhmah, wisdom, the sun. It doesn't mean that you have to be afraid of God. It means that you have to study that. Terror, that awe that you have to have when you are in the sexual act. Because when you are in the sexual act and you don't feel that fear. But let me explain what type of fear, in order for you to tell me the right word for it, which means Aima. If you are riding a horse in the forest, and all of a sudden a cliff comes, and then you pull the reins of the horse, right? In order not to go into the cliff. Is that fear or common sense? So you're going to say, oh, I'm not afraid, so go ahead, horse. And then you go and kill yourself, you know what I mean? So there's something here that you have to understand. The fear that I'm talking to you is when you pull the reins of your horse, that animal that you have within in the sexual act. When you are in the Garden of Eden, which means the sexual act with your own Eve, or Eve with your own Adam in the sexual act, you are riding a horse. I talk about the horse in other lectures. Ehe, the rune Ehe, the horse. And if you are riding and you feel that you're going to the precipice, into the cliff, which means that the orgasm is approaching, you have to pull the reins of the horse. Otherwise, you go into cliff path, which commonly people do. Instead of pulling the reins, they just lose the reins. And without horse and rider, go into hell. So we had to know. We had to have common sense. So how do you call that action? Respect. You have to be always, that's why the Bible states, you have to be afraid of losing your values, of losing the treasure that you have. If you are not afraid, you don't care, like any fornicator, okay, well, you go to the abyss. But you have to know how to rise. And for that you need willpower. That's why we always state Moses is willpower. That's why you see that in the name of Moses. Look how you write Moses in Hebrew. Mem, Shin, He. This is how you write Moses. The letter Shin is hidden, which symbolizes your monad. Because the power of the Shin, as we explain it here, is in the letter Mem. But the letter Mem with the letter He denotes your sexual organs. He is the sexual force in the feminine part, which is your physicality. And Shin is hidden. in Ma. So if you take the letter Shin of the name Moses out, then you have the word Ma, which denotes the lower waters, the sexual forces of Mizrahim, what the Bible calls in the book of Genesis or Exodus, the river Nile, where Moses was found. That's why Moses means being born from the water. But the meaning of this is that that Shin, that letter Shin, which is fire, is being born from the water. Now visualize the letter Shin. And what do you find in the letter Shin? The three serpents. Shushubna, Ida, and Pingala. The three cords. Remember that the fire awakes when you unite the two forces, Ida and Pingala. And then Shushumna. When Shushumna awakes, that is Moses. Because all of us have Ida and Pingala within. But in order to make the letter Shin, which is fire, you need the fire of the spinal medulla, which rises very slowly as you combine the two polarities, Pingala and Ida, Adam and Eve, yin yang. And when that awakes, then you have your letter Shin. That's why it is written that Moses rides on the letter Shin. Moses is the mystery of the fire of the water. It's Ma. But of course, Moses can do nothing without the help of God, as we explain in other lectures. God relates to the superior waters because Ma, Aima Elohim, belongs to the lower waters. Behold this. Pay attention. Yod Hava Elohim is the name of Binah in the world of the archetypes. Yod Hava Elohim. There is where you find for the first time the word Elohim and Yod He Vav He. That we are addressing Yod He Vav He because he's related with Binah. And Elohim because he's related with Binah. So in the word Yod He Vav He Elohim, which is the sacred name of Binah in the world of archetypes, you find the duality, mother and father, the two waters. The water above is called Abba Elohim, or the Father Elohim. Abba is written with Aleph and Bet, but relates to a mystery which is called the heavens, that in many other lectures I talk to you. Shamayim or Shamim, which also is a word that hides the letter Shin in the water, above, in heaven. The letter Shin in Mim, which is water. So, when you address the waters of heaven, you just take the letter Yod and the letter Mem. Because the letter Yod is the first letter of Yod He Vav He that relates to the first triangle, Keter. Remember that the holy breath of God that emanates from the Absolute, the eternal breath profoundly unknowable to itself, when it appears in the universe, is just a dot. does the ray. One extreme of the ray is in the universe and the other is in the absolute. That is the letter Vav. In both sides, you find the Yod, the spot. And that Yod is Keter. That becomes Aleph, the Trinity that creates. So when you want to point that superior waters, which the Bible calls Shamim or Shamayim, we had to address letter Yod and the letter Mem, which means water, which makes the word me, which in Hebrew means who. We explained that in other lectures. Me, who, is above, and ma, what, is below. Who created all of this? Ask the Zohar. The answer is who? Me. The waters from above. The Holy Spirit. Binah. That's me. Is Binah. Abba Elohim. So the Father is above and the Mother is below. And that's why when we address Father and Mother, simply we said Yod He, because Yod is me and He is Ma, with the same letter, Mem, water. So when he says, who is my father? The waters above. What is my mother? The waters below. And that is what in our physicality is called the cerebrospinal fluid. That's me in our physicality. And Ma is the semen in our physicality, feminine or masculine. So are the two waters that we have in our physicality. And that's why it is written that between the two waters, Mim and Ma, or Mi and Ma, you find the letter Vav. And the letter Vav, the spinal column, is the tree of life. So what is between Mi and Ma is a tree of life. So your spinal column is Vav, the sun, who is not there yet, because it has to be fire. And the cerebrospinal fluid is me, the Father, in you. And you can see very clear. The brain floats in the cerebrospinal fluid. The spinal fluid is the medulla, right? Cerebrum and medulla becomes one. If you see the brain and the medulla is like the letter Vav. But above is the Yod, and the Vav becomes the son of the Vav, of the Yod. So then you find the Father and the Son being one in heaven. So if you want to know the mysteries of heaven, the Son is the way, the medulla, right? But that Son, which is Moshe, has to be born from Ma, the waters below in Mizrahim. That was the word Mizrahim, which means Egypt, has two mems. You have to work with those waters. Moses had to be born within you. It's that willpower that rises from the very physical body into the vital body, into the astral body, into the mental body, which is Malkut, Yesod, Hod, Netzah, and into Tiferet. So when that Mem goes into Tiferet, and then we have that Mem connected to the Shin. In other words, that implies that in order to connect the mem with the shin, which means with our monad, we have to create astral body, mental body, and causal body. We have to reach the fifth initiation of major mysteries. That's why when we talk about Moses, we said is Tifereth. And Moses is Jacob. But Jacob, Israel, are the archetypes that descend into Malkut. And when Moses reaches Tifereth, behold, there is united with Jacob. So all of us have our own particular Jacob or Tifereth inside, or those particles of Israel within as archetypes. But we have to first to work with Moses. In order for Moses to take it from Egypt to the Mount of Sinai. So the Mount of Sinai is beyond Tifereth, is that. Remember that in that is where Moses found the burning bush. It was burning bush because the shin was, of course, given the strength. You see the letter shin there? Below that. And that bush, little bush, is precisely in that is receiving the strength of Geburah, Chesed, and Tifereth. That's why it's burning, because Shin is giving that to it. And when Moses reaches that, he's reaching Hey, the second Hey, or the holy name, Yod-He, Vav-He. And this is how you form the word Moshe. Moshe. Moshe means the waters from Yesod united to Tiferet into that, the tree of good and evil. It's the whole mystery of Moses, which is the same Adam. Because if you take the letter Shin out, which is the mystery of the monad, that means that letter Shin manifests in Ma, which is below, the waters below. Ma here is the vital body and the physical body. If that letter Shin, which is the monad, wants to appear in this physical world, then I have to reach the fifth initiation of major mysteries. And then the Shin descends in Egypt, and then you said, oh, I'm Moses. Moses is being born again. So to be born again is to reach the level of Moses, in simple words. But Moses has to kill the Egypt first in order to go out up there. And who is that Egyptian that he has to kill? Well, it's you. Me. Have to perform something there. The annihilation of the ego. Because in Egypt there is another kingdom, Mizrahim, which is the ego inside of us. Has to be annihilated. And when that happens, everybody is against Moses. Because everybody feels the ego, but nobody kills it. Right? So when Moses reaches that, then put the letter He of the holy name of God, Yod-He, Vav-He, in that, and then you find the word Moshe. And if you read it backwards from that to below, and then you read Hashem, which is the name. Moses hides the mystery of the name. Yod-He, Vav-He, that is the name. Because Moshe works with Hashem. There is not single archetype in any initiate that is Moshe that doesn't work with Yod-He, Vav-He. If Moses is because Yod-He, Vav-He, the name is there. That's why Moses backwards is Hashem. Because he is working with Ma, Vav, He, and Yod. from the beginning until the end. And that's why when he reaches that, he finds the superior part of the waters, the Holy Spirit, Jehovah Elohim. Every one of us wants to have the privilege of talk face to face with God, right? God, as creator, is here in that, because in that, the first triangle, Keter Choma Binah, becomes Yod He, which is pronounced Yah. You want to see Yah? But you have to go to that. There is not a man, Adam, that reaches that and see God face to face, and he doesn't die psychologically. Because when Moses, being in that, is looking at Yah, he says, now you have to go down, you have to die. Down to Egypt and bring my people, the people or the archetypes of Tifereth, the 12 tribes, which are bottled up into the ego, which are working under the rules of the Pharaoh in this physicality. And this is what we call the renunciation of heaven, because when you reach that level, you reach Shamajim, heaven. When you read that Moses went down from the very bottom to the top of the hill of the Mount of Sinai, please understand, don't think that literally. Because a lot of people can climb even higher mountains than Sinai, like the Everest. They go there physically, they don't find God, they don't see any being there, or any burning bush. But this is Kabbalistically speaking. When Moses reaches here, that's the mountain, the top of the Mount of Sinai. Is that, symbolically speaking. This is initiatically. There is where you can see God, but you have to have a causal body in order to see God face to face. And there in the causal body is where the initiate decides to go on the spiral or in the direct path. If he chooses the direct path, he descends down into Malkut in order to start from the very bottom. And of course, Moses can do marvels. Take the people of Israel from between the waters. But see that the waters that Moses are opening are Ma and Me. In order for the people to go, in order to those archetypes to live little by little, which is really a great task of willpower. This is what is written in Exodus. This is how we have to understand it. This is how Moses do it. Moses did that work within the psychology of the Master Samael on Ve'or. And he wrote that in the book Pistis Sophia. Of course, he doesn't say I am Moses, but he says, when you gather all the particles of Israel within you, and then you form your own particular individual Moses Sabaoth. Sabaoth means host, army. Then visualize all the people of Israel going through the two waters and Moses in front. That is Moses Sabaoth. All the archetypes which are liberated from Malkut, which implies meditation, a lot of discipline, going out into the promised land. So this is a great work. It didn't happen as it is written in the book of Exodus, physically. Symbolically, yes. we said is associated with the sinking of Atlantis. But we are talking here esoterically, initiatically, in order for us to understand. Because when you start doing this work, the only one that can help you is Moses, your own particular individual archetype that has the power to be born from the waters and going up to that to see the upper waters. So, do you visualize that? Understand that and study, because the holy name of God, Yod-He-Vav-He, hides the mysteries of initiation. And the three mother letters, Aleph, Shin, Mem, hides also everything that we see in the tree of life, in order for us to see clearly what is written, and not to fall into confusion. Because there are many people there that like to worship idols, or gurus, we will say. We have to respect the masters, respect it and love them. But remember that Moses was who received the 10 Commandments. Do you remember that? Even if you saw in movies? Who is the one that received the 10 Commandments? Moses. And who is Moses? He's a causal body. He is in front of God in the Sefer Adat, receiving the 10 Commandments. Why? Because he has to deal with all the archetypes. Had to teach them through meditation how to obey. You shall not have any other Elohim before me, said his own particular individual God inside of him. And why he is stating that? Because within Moses, or within any initiate, there are archetypes that like to worship idols. Different type of idols in your mind, psychological things. Zohar states, anyone who fornicates is an idol worshiper. It is not necessary to have statues or carved monuments in your home in order to say, I am an idol worshiper, or I am not. The main thing is here psychologically, not to worship idols. And unfortunately, among the initiates, whether from the south or the north or the east or the west, they like to have always an idol. Sometimes the guru is necessary, the guider is necessary. But if you ever reach that, and you see your God face to face, you will see, and you will remember this lecture. Your inner God will tell you, the first commandment, you shall not have any other Elohim before me. And for that, of course, you have to purify every single archetype of your God, which is called Israel, within you. But people in this physical world think that by worshiping this master or by following this other master, they don't understand that in order to follow really, consciously, the master to whom they are talking, what they are talking about, that master represents an archetype within you, which is part of your own God. Awake that, develop that, and then you really will respect the master more. And that is why Moses receives the 10 Commandments. Do you remember the lecture that we talked about the mantras for the 5 elements? La, Va, Ra, Ya, Ha. Do you remember that? And we said that the mantra for the earth is La, which is Malkut, in order to control the forces. right? In Malkut we are. In order to write La in Hebrew, you write it with Lamed, Aleph, La, which means no. So when Moses is here in that, his inner God, in order to control the people of Israel that came out from Egypt, and that they are rising there, but still have a lot of problems, he says, these are my 10 commandments. In order for you to guide these people, they're coming from Malkut, La, which is by virtue with the note La, La. You shall not have any other gods before me. If you read in Hebrew, the first word that you read is La. You shall not lie, La. You shall not kid, La. And La and La and La, repeating always that syllable in Malkut, which means no. The holy denying. That is the meaning of it. Because La, no, is a holy denying, which means the work of Christ. To obey one law, the law of God, your inner God, you have to deny yourself. This is what the Lord Jesus says. Whosoever wants to come after me, deny himself, means La. Achieve the commandments. You have the 10 commandments in order to start there, written in Exodus and Deuteronomies. I tell you what to do before reaching that level. But let me tell you, when you really, psychologically, spiritually reach that level, and then your God will guide you about the law of negation. And you have to obey always your God. Do this, do that. And Moses, of course, explained that with the 10 commandments. You shall not fornicate, law. You shall not commit adultery, law. And that's why if we follow that, we eventually will understand why L-A, law, is negation. That way when you do it, you inverted the word, and then you form the word El, which is God. Because La, backwards, means God, El. Inquire, meditate, why? What if I negate myself, and then I am following El, my inner God? It's so simple and so clear that people don't see it. And that's why you find in the next graphic that Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind, and it was so. You see there the Star of David with the holy creatures, Hayot HaKadosh, the holy creatures, which symbolizes the elements. And of course symbolizes the letter Shin, the lion, the ox, and the eagle are the symbol of Keter, Chesed, Geburah, and Tifereth, the 3 patriarchs. The lion is Chesed, the ox is Isaac, or Geburah, and the eagle is Tifereth. There is that eagle that is connected also with Moshe, because Moshe goes from the bottom to Tifereth in order to meet the other eagle. Where the eagles meet is Tifereth. Moshe is one eagle, and Jacob, the archetypes of the human soul, is there waiting. 2 eagles meet. But of course, Moshe symbolizes Adam, that comes from the very bottom, the true man that rises. And that's why it's written there about the living creatures. That's how the living creatures. and Adonia, which is the name of the mother of the water. Behold, the word Elohim, Elohim, that is the word of God. Elohim. Well, ends with like that. What do you find the word Elohim? In all the lectures I told you. Elah in Hebrew means goddess, the feminine aspect of God. And Im is water. The goddess of the water, Elohim. Because from the transmutation of the sexual waters is how Moses emerges. Remember that Moses is the son of the water. We will say in synthesis, Moses is the son of Elohim. Or Elohim. Elamim, the goddess of the ocean, the goddess of the water. Ma. And Moses is being born there because he's afraid, Aima, of falling into fornication. And that's why Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind. Kind, I told you, in Hebrew means sex. That is kind. Mina is how you say it. You see the word Mina? Also has the letter Mem, the letter Nun, and the letter Hey. Ma. Nun is the seed, the sperm, the ovum. Mina. That means the strength of the mother, according to his own kind, after his kind. That means that when you develop your own Adam with the forces of Moses, which is willpower, the fire, you develop that according to your own kind. There are people that are different temperaments. People are cold, or they are lukewarm, and others are very hot in the sexual act. So obviously those that are very hot develop a Moses according to his own kind, his own temperament. People that are cold, that practice sexual magic every week or every month, because there are people there that they don't feel the necessity of sexual magic every day, called temperament. Well, they develop their own Moses very slow, and when Moses emerged, according to his own kind, like his own Adam. So that's why there are many masters, different kind of masters, according to their own kind, according to their own sexual power, in other words. That's why I said the creeping thing. That creeping thing that we talk in other lecture is that forces of Geburah, symbolized by the cricket, right? That's the creeping thing. The forces of Geburah that we have, which is fire. You see? When you see the creeping thing, well, those are elements, sexual elements that you have, the fire that you have. Different type of crickets. In accordance to that, you developed those holy creatures. Because in order to reach the level of man, Adam, which is in the middle, remember that in the scripture of Ezekiel, it states that the holy creatures are having 4 faces. Each one of them have 4 faces. Or the faces of Adam with three faces. That's the symbol of that. Or what is written in the book of Genesis. And then we find that the book of Genesis states, and Elohim made the beast of the earth after his kind. If you read it literally, any beast, any animal in this planet is made according to the sexual force, according to his kind, after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. We would say, Elohim saw that it is good. Or Elohim saw that good. Because that good is Chesed. The one that is doing it inside of us. So when you read all of that in Genesis, remember that it's associated with the creation of man inside of you. You are doing all of that, and that's why you see there to the right Moses by William Blake before the burning bush, because Elohim saw that good. Meaning when Moses is there in the hut before the burning bush, and then he says, well, says Elohim, what I had made is good. Here is Moses in front of me. He came from the very bottom, created his astral body, mental body, causal body, and behold here, he's good. And when he is there, you see the next graphic? Moses. This is found in the city of Paris, France. Moses, similar to the Moses of Michelangelo, with two horns. If we talk about literally in Taoism, you know that Chinese medicine and many other Taoistic or Taoist medicine make a lot of medicine in order to give you sexual strength. They made it with the horns of deers, of any other animal. Because in the horn of any animal hides the strength of the sexual force of the animal. Because they are like antennas that transform solar force for the earth. So when Moses came down from the Mount of Sinai, he has two horns, or the horns of light coming from his head. That is called the horns of Lucifer. Luci, fire. Fair, fire. Luci, fire. Light and fire. The sexual force is in the sexual organs. That's called Lucifer. When you rise that fire, shin, of the letter mem, and then you will show that in your head, the two horns, the forces of the sexual energy. That's what symbolizes the horn of Moses. Any initiate receive those horns of light. It symbolizes that it's in chastity, that is transforming Lucifer, or better say, is transforming Satan into Lucifer, giver of light. Because most of us have Lucifer transformed into Satan. So that's why it's written, and Elohim said, let us make Adam in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the water, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, the earth, and of all the earth, and over every creeping thing, the fire, that creepeth upon the earth. So Elohim created Adam in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created them. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. That's a commandment to Moses. This ain't Moses. This is Adam receiving the commandments of the Lord. You see in the next graphic how Moses is kneeled and receiving the commandments of his own particular individual monad, God, Glorian. in order to do his commands. So the man, as it is written in the Gospels or in the book of Genesis, is the one that commands the elements. Did not Moses show that in the book of Exodus? When he appears before the Pharaoh, he is Adam, made into his own image, the image of Elohim, the two forces, Ma and me, the higher water and the lower waters, and he's showing the serpent is the first miracle or wonder that he does in front of the Pharaoh. And start working with nature, because he is a king of nature. He is Adam, resurrected from the dead. Can any one of us go literally to Egypt and do that in front of the people? Do all those marvels that you read in the book of Exodus? Moses did it because he was Adam. The symbol of Adam, or of the creatures, the holy creatures. Hayot HaKadosh. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. He was riding in fire. And he was willing to do all of that. And because he was willing to do all of those marvels in front of the Pharaoh, his own particular individual Antichrist inside, he went out with all the people of Israel by dividing the waters from the waters. Or as the book of Genesis says, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it be divide the waters from the waters. It's the same thing that Moses is doing, or that God is doing through Moses, dividing the waters from the waters in order to take the firmament, which is Tifereth. In the midst, in the middle of the spinal column, the middle column of the tree of life is Tifereth, coming from Yesod, Tifereth, to the head. And Moses is guiding all of that in the midst of the waters of Ma and me. And that's why it said, and Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters from the waters. So all of that, of course, which is written in the book of Genesis in the very beginning, is synthesized in the work that Moses is performing with his own archetypes. Genesis states, and Elohim said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat, and it was so. When you read this, remember that the physical body is a tetartocosmos that transforms solar energy. When you reach that level, every single energy that you receive through your physicality or through your internal bodies, which is solar light, is connected to all the kingdoms of nature. So the true man, the true Adam, channels the solar forces that are in nature, in trees, herbs, animals, because he has within the mirror of nature. He is the image of that force which is called Elohim within himself. And he eats that. So do not interpret this as that when Adam is made, that he is cutting grass and eating grass, physically speaking, or eating fruits from the tree, which all of us do. When it's summer, we go and we pick the fruits and we eat them. Nice, delicious. It's all light too. But in this statement that we read here, Adam, which is the same Moses, made into the image of God, is feeding his soul, his spirit, his internal bodies with a solar light, because he's connected to nature. And he controls, he commands nature. He's no longer a machine, like we are machines. The energy is transformed and we just squander the energy. But a real man, Adam, as Moses, is also transforming that consciously and knows that all the solar force of God is within and without, and takes and delivers, transforms that consciously. And that's why he's a king of nature. He's a malachim, because he's controlling the forces of nature. It's not like us. Look, the hurricane Irene. What happens? Did we control the hurricane? You see all the calamities that caused in the coast? The fires of Texas. Can we control the fires of Texas? At the end, everybody gave up and said, well, let nature take this curse and maybe something will be saved. Earthquakes, tsunamis. Are we kings of nature? How dare we call themselves human beings or made into the image of God? Nobody here is into the image of God. Moses is into the image of God. That's a true Adam. But us, it's a joke. But we have the possibility of becoming into the image of God if we work. Because all of those forces that Moses controlled by will and with a lot of power are inside of us as archetypes, but need to be developed. And of course, we had to do that in order to reach what the book of Genesis says. And Elohim saw everything that he had made inside, in the psychology, in the psyche, in the spirit of man, and it was very good. Tov meod, very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. In other words, first the man has to be born in us. And then we had to do all of those marvels that Moses did in order for us to become a man of the sixth day. That control the forces of nature. And as a man of the sixth day, we enter into the man of the seventh day. Because one thing is the man of the sixth day, which is a Moses, that perform all those marvels that we read in the book of Exodus. But what happened with Moses? Do you read the Bible? What happened with him? He died. He disappeared from the earth. His tomb was not found. Where did he go? Where is it? Or where is him? Meaning, the meaning of this is this. Oh, his tomb was not found because the meaning of Moses was not found. But now we are taking the tomb out and showing you, this is Moses, look. It's within you. It's hidden within you. It's where the tomb of Moses is within you. But the master Moses, of course, disappears into the fourth dimension in order to fulfill Binah. He resurrected and says, and Yod Haba Elohim formed Adam, which is the same Moses, of the dust of the ground. That the dust of the ground is Adamah, which we already explained. All the work that we had to perform. And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and Adam became a living soul. That's written in the second chapter of the book of Genesis. That means that Adam that we see there is beyond Moses. Moses disappeared in the Mount Nebo and entered into the fourth dimension into the land of Yahovah Elohim and became a man of the seventh day, which doesn't belong to the three-dimensional world. And this is something that people do not understand. Before entering into the fourth dimension, we have to do all these marvels of Moses. Because the promised land is the fourth dimension. So the initiate has to die. Even if he has all the powers, has to die in order to resurrect and to be a man of the seventh day. That's the direct path. This is what happened with the Master Samael. He died in 1977, disappeared. His body was burned into the fire. Where is he now? He's a man of the seventh day. Because God breatheth into his nostrils the neshama of life. You see the shin there? Neshama. And he became a living soul. Living souls are in the fourth dimension and can materialize if they want. But please do not call yourselves living souls, because we are not. We are souls, but living souls are those individuals that exercise the power of their own kind. A living soul is somebody that can show all the powers of his own kind, because he's made into the image of God and beyond. Because remember that Moses was made into the image of God, but the man of the seventh day is beyond that. Comprehend that. Because if we talk physically, an eagle is a living soul. Because it has all the attributes of an eagle. A lion is a living soul. Has all the attributes of a lion. And an ox, a bull, also is a living soul. But are we living souls? Do we have the attributes of the man that control nature? Put your hand on your heart and answer yourself. We can become that if we work. Do you have questions?
It's written in the Bible that Moses was forbidden from entering the promised land because he had struck the rock twice in order to draw water from it. How does this relate to the work that he had to do?
Well, Moses and any initiate is forbidden to enter into the promised land as it is. Nobody can enter even with all of his powers. Great masters have reached. Look, the Master Jesus of Nazareth, the highest initiate that incarnated in this planet. He reached that level, but he cannot enter into the promised land after he died and resurrected. That is the meaning of it. That to struck the rock twice, meaning that in this path, even if we don't want it, because of fornication, we strike always the rock twice. And we have to pay that with death. The rock is the philosophical stone where the Holy Spirit abides. Even though we are working with chastity, remember that because of your archetypes and everything that you have within, you struck that stone with your letter Vav, with your spine, twice. It was written, you shall not commit fornication. So don't forget that. But that is an unforgivable sin. Forgiven. So Moses died and disappeared after that into the fourth dimension. That's the other meaning, esoterically speaking. But as I said, Kabbalistically speaking, means that the meaning of the name Moshe is hidden within the mysteries of Kabbalah. And that's why nobody found his grave. Only the initiates. And because we are in the time of the end, I'm telling you, Moses is buried within you, or buried within you. That archetype. Resuscitate him. And then you will find why Moses has to come again and take the people in the time of the end. This hides the mystery of the Messiah. What is your question?
When God told Moses to go before the Pharaoh, Moses hesitated and said, I don't speak very well. So he says, I'll send your brother Aaron, Aharon, with you, and he'll speak for you. What archetype is Aaron, his brother?
Aaron, the priest,
Yes.
relates to that part of the monad, which is in relation with the working of rituals, forces, that the initiate has to control and to manage in order to show the power of his own God. So Moses is the willpower that develops through chastity. But Aaron relates to the different rituals that we have to perform individually speaking, psychologically speaking, as a priest. Because remember that Aaron was a priest. Priest in Asia, among the Parsis, is called magus, a magician. Because the one that performs all the miracles in front of the Pharaoh really is Aaron. Moses says, take my rod and make the miracle in front of the Pharaoh, right? So that is precisely a hidden meaning there. Moses is the willpower that you receive. You are in contact with your God, you receive the commandments, the forces. But down here, you had to be a priest. You had to manage the forces. You know, you had to work what we call tantra. Tantra is ritual, when you manage the forces of nature. And only a priest, a magician, can do that, which is that part of ourselves, which is called Aaron. That's why in the path we teach the three types of magic. First, the sexual magic, when Aaron also works with sexual magic. Then the natural magic, which relates to Hod, related with the Eucharist and many other rituals. And then the hermetic magic related with Netzach, which also related with the forces of nature. So a true initiate has to work with the hermetic magic, natural magic, and sexual magic. The holy triangle of the letter Mem. And then to manage the forces of nature, which is Mem. And even further, he has to work with the magic related with Klipoth. But in order to enter into Klipoth and to see all those black magicians and to defeat them, you have to be a Moses, really. Because remember that even they commit mistakes. In the Exodus is written, right? When they don't know how to handle the forces of nature, which relate to Klipoth, which in this case is related with the three traders. Kore, Aviram, and doesn't come the other name to my mind. The three traders of Moses, that the earth opens and swallows them. Kore, Datan, and Abiram. That comes out. Kore, Datan, and Abiram are the three traders of Moses. The same Judas, Pilate, and Caiaphas. The three enemies of Hiram Abif, according to Manzari. So, yes.
Air, fire, water. Is there a Hebrew letter that relates like this to the fourth element, earth? Just correspond with the four seasons, ages, four bodies of sin, the four parts of the Sphinx, four sides of the pyramid, four gospels, four legs on the table, a tarot card, number one magician, four suits of tarot, etc.
Thank you. Yes, of course. We always associate the element earth with the physical body. Because if you see the tree of life, Aleph, your head, Shin, your heart, right? And then Mem, in your sexual organs. There you find it. Because we are tree of lives. So Malkut, which is below Yesod, is of course the symbol of the earth, in which all these forces are gathered. And the body of Malkut, the physical body, is an outcome of the letter Nun, which is fish. That's why we can associate the letter Nun with Moses. If you know that the letter Het with Nun is Noah or Noah, as the people Noah. The forces of Noah that made the ark. The ark is Malkut. First, we had to build the ark. First, we had to start with the physical body, which is Malkut. And for that, we had to respect the letter Nun, which is fish, the seed. So, from the letter Nun, the seed, emerges the physical body, Malkut. There you have it. Another question?
Yeah. Is an aspect of Moses equal to the fire of Kundalini?
Is the aspect of Moses an aspect?
Of Moses equal to the fire of Kundalini?
Well, we were saying that Moses is the child of the Kundalini, the child of the fire. Moses controlled nature because of that Shin, which is fire. That's why you see Ma, Mem, and He, which is the mother. When you are Aima, in terror of that mother, and you respect the mother, Elohim, then the Shin emerges within the Mem and the He, which is the fire. And that Shin is the mystery of Moses, Moshe. Of course, Moshe is willpower. The Divine Mother Kundalini is willpower. That's why Moshe is a feminine aspect of the mother, because Ma is feminine. But what makes Moses vital, masculine, is the letter Shin, which is the monad that descends. So Moses is written, writes in Shin. Moses is the rider, and Shin are the three forces. That's why when you talk about Moses, well, you see, the letter Shin is in the middle of his name. Therefore, the three patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, are within him. Are him. And this is what we have to be. When the monad incarnates in the initiate, behold Moses. Moses is born and has to go down. And Moses is Moses thanks to Elohim, the mother of the sea, Stella Maris, which is the power of the water. Elohim, which we also call Adonia. Another question?
If Adam is a man in the image of God, how does Eve relate to that?
Adam, made into the image of God,
If Adam is
is Eve as well. Because Adam is Yod, and Eve is the rest of the holy name, Chava, which becomes Het when you work with the forces of life, which is Eve. Eve, obviously, is in the very bottom, is He, is the feminine aspect of the man. So the man has to work with the forces of Eve in order to become Adam. If Moses, I repeat, becomes Adam into the image of God, is because of Eve, which is the feminine aspect. So Eve is hidden in the very bottom. Behold here, if you transform the letter He of Yod He Vav He into Het by knowing how to breathe the sexual force, that He becomes Het. So that Het with Vav and He is how you write Hava in Hebrew. Hava is the activity of the forces of the mother, because Het is the same He of Yod He Vav He, and below is the other He. In between them is the letter Vav, the spinal column. The mother of the He below is Yod He, and the daughter is the He of Vav He. Both letters, Yod He, Vav He, are hidden within Moses. That is the duality. The man is an androgynous. That's why it is written, male, female, he created them. So within the true Adam is the male and female. But God separated them in the beginning in order to make all of this initiation. That's why the male is always searching for his female in order to be complete. Because only in the complete union of male-female, Moshe appears. Moses.
Is there any way to activate these psychological types in our psyche without sexual magic?
Impossible. To activate, you need fire. No one can activate the archetypes. But you can be in contact with it and to liberate them, but not to develop them. What we need is to develop the archetypes. And for that we need genesis, generation. And for that we need the sexual act. Of course, the single person in the beginning works with a single force and develop those archetypes at a certain level. But to reach the level of Moses, remember that Moses was a merry man. He works with his wife, Deborah. I remember. Yeah.
One more question.
Another question.
After Moses came Joshua. Is Joshua an archetype as well? What would he be related to?
Joshua, Moses, Jacob, and all those archetypes are the symbol of the development that we had to perform within. Obviously, Moses is hidden within Joshua. Joshua is one of the children of the 12 tribes of Israel. Joshua, the Savior, is part of Moses that is left in order for us to work with. Joshua is a higher part of Moses. Thank you very much.
presentation of this lecture was made possible by donations from listeners like you. Help Gnostic Radio to help others. Make a donation by visiting gnosticradio.org. For questions and deeper understanding of this lecture, we invite you to explore the wide variety of resources available on our websites. Thank you for your support. May all beings be happy.